Alrighty, welcome to chapter 19 guys of the Forgemaster Masterclass. Today we're going to be getting this guy ready for retopology inside of Maya. Before we do that though, I do want to sort of dirty up this guy's body a little bit. Just looking at it in high res, it's some nice skin detail and such, but I think he could do with a little bit of extra grime on him. After all, he's going to be dealing with fire and whatnot, so I'm just going to quickly do that first of all. It's going to be a case of exactly the same as we did before. We're just going to select our body, so you can alt and click on the body. Turn on solo mode, head up to the highest subdivision level. And from here we're just going to go into Zaplink. So go to Document, click Zaplink and press Drop Now. I'll get Photoshop open. And from here you can go into 100% under the Zoom menu. And just going to grab one of my grime brushes. Seems to be getting a lot of use lately. So just going to add a new layer. I'm going to hit overlay. And we're going to go with sort of dirty, very desaturated dark reds. So barely able to see the red. And just going to sort of tap in areas where we've got dirt and grime piled up, that sort of thing. It's not really anything in particular, just kind of around areas where you'd think, you know, he'd get some grime. So I'm going to change up the brushes a bit and also change up the colours. So just going to go with a sort of browner kind of tone. It's very faint. Don't want to go absolutely insane with it. And then I'm just going to create another new layer and go on to multiply. Now what multiply does is it tends to darken everything below it. So we're going to get some really obvious effects going on here. And it's not going to change the colour of our brush, so it's going to be a lot more accurate to the colour that we have selected. So I'm just tapping on, I'm being careful not to sort of overdo it. And just changing up the brushes every so often. Then we're just going to, I think I'll just put another sort of splatter around here, I think. Just going to merge those layers down from bottom to top. Right click, merge down and preserve. And just going to save. I actually press the correct save button this time. Need to recalibrate this display because I'm at a slightly different angle than I usually am. And then we'll re-enter ZBrush and pick up now. So you can see that looks a whole lot more convincing already. A lot more detail there. And a lot more natural. So I'm just going to take a slightly different angle. And once again, head into Zaplink. Do the same process again, just add a new layer. Switch it to an overlay mode. Choose a grunge brush. Then I'll go with sort of a redder tone as well. And we'll just start putting some grime in around these areas. Probably not going to have such a dirty back. But it's always good to have a few little bits on the back. Just add another layer and change it to multiply. Just get more of a darker, blacker tone, and possibly just change it up a little bit more to have a bit more colour in it. Change the brush and let's get a few different effects in there. Merge down and preserve, and then we just save. So Control S, minimize and just re-enter ZBrush. Probably went a little bit over the top there I think, but I don't know, it'll work. It's not like it's everywhere. And we'll just do a little bit more on this side. I think that'll do it. Just merge down. We'll just put a bit of dirt on his face next. We'll save it, head back in. A little bit of maybe character building, I guess. On his head, I'd like to put sort of like a smudge mark, as if he's just sort of like when he's wiping the sweat from his head or something like that. It's kind of like a smudge mark in sort of a handprint kind of thing. So I'm just going to create a multiply layer. I'm going to get a very dark colour, and from here I'm going to just put it all over the place on his head. And from there I'm going to get the smudge brush, smudge tool, and just kind of smear it down. So just kind of like a handprint smeared across there. Gonna merge down and preserve, and I'm gonna kill off that damn wisp tis process that's causing the bloody ripples, because I hate these things. There was actually a way to turn it off in Windows Vista. Vista was a hideous operating system, but at least you could turn that annoying crap off, but in Windows 7 you can't. So I'm just going to do a similar sort of thing along his brow. Just smudge that here. Merge that down. And just going to get a slightly different colour on this one as well. Just add a bit of grime, which maybe he hasn't washed off this time. Might actually smudge that on his ear. Actually set the right brush. Don't have to worry too much, just sort of around the lower part of the face, because he's got his beard anyway. So just merge down what we've got, just save it, Control S, head back to ZBrush and pick it up. Quite like that handprint on his head. It's not obviously a handprint, but it looks like he's sort of wiped it off. And we'll just do something similar on the opposite side of the face. Not too similar though, because we don't want it to look like it's you know, mirrored. But I'm going to use the same technique. Splotch on some dirt. Smudge it out a bit. And I think we'll add some sort of speckles as well. Just not quite those ones, a little bit too soft and too congealed looking. So I'm just going to grab one of my dotted brushes. Just kind of, no, not quite that one. Other one. That'll do it. There we go. Add a few smudges. And possibly a little bit down towards his neck as well. Merge that down, preserve, and save. Head back to ZBrush and pick it up. There we go, that looks a whole lot more convincing. Yeah, quite happy with that. Might do a little bit on the back of his head, again, sort of scratching his head or, you know, wiping away sweat. So I really should have included this on the last chapter, but I never really thought about it until I took an overall look at it just after I stopped recording, so just take care of it at the start of this, and the next part of the process is decimating the mesh and getting everything all sorted out for the low res portion of doing this. And it doesn't take all that long to do, so it should be able to come together in sort of a decent chapter. So again, let's just get some sort of finger wipes in there. Maybe not so much on that one, but there we go. Let's just merge down and preserve, and we'll save. Head back into ZBrush and pick up. There we go. So there's a bit of something to look at no matter what angle we're actually looking at him from. Yeah, it looks a whole lot more sort of blacksmithy now. Cool. Righty, so let's just go ahead and turn solo mode off, and I'm quite happy with how that's coming along. So what we're going to do is get this prepared for our low polygon retopology. So let's go ahead and start working through this one at a time. So I'm going to turn off all the layers, all the subtools. So what we're going to want to do first of all is export out the highest resolution of each subtool that we want to resurface, and from there we can pretty much use that to project our data, our texture data that we want. But then we'll want sort of medium resolution, so it'll capture all as much high-res detail as we can get, so we can get some of the subtleties of the form, but at a polygon count that won't kill Maya, basically. So we're going to do the body first, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my file explorer, and we'll start creating some of the folders that we'll need so we can keep it organized and keep everything in check. So let's just go ahead and bring that over here. As you can see, everything's a little bit of a mess, so I'm just going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this working. And we're going to create another one called final. And just so I get into the working folder easier, I'm actually just going to put a 1 at the start. And then 2 for final. So staying organized is definitely a good idea. You can see I haven't been very organized here. So I've got some material files which I actually don't need, so I can clean those up and delete them. These are all the bits and pieces from doing the buckles and you know, all the things that we did in Max before. So I'm just going to move that into working, and I'm going to make that make a folder called props, and just drag those in. Just put obj at the end. And then I'm going to create a new folder called exports. Then I'll do Z projects and Z tools. So then we can organize these. I don't think I'm going to need any more of those, so I'm just going to clean up some of my past ones, as I know the current version of the file is absolutely fine. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to cut and paste them into my Z projects folder so I can keep them organized. And I'm going to do the same with the Forgemaster Z tool. I won't need that, but just in case. And these are just the concept stuff, so I'm just going to do concept and drag these into here and drag them into the working folder. So we've got our exports folder, so inside there we're going to create a new one called low res. We're then going to create a new one called medium res, and you guessed it, finally another one, high res. Just going to put numbers again in front just so I can keep them sort of in order. So I got low res, medium res, and high res at the end. Really, I should have done this at the start, but at least you can see the process of me doing it here. So we've got the exports, and now we'll do the actual exporting. So that's everything all kind of tidy. Let's head back into ZBrush. Now from here we're going to start exporting all the high-res versions of everything that we've got. So we're going to click on export. We're going to go into working. We're then going to go into exports and into high res. So this we're going to call upper body underscore HR for high res. Take a while to actually export that out. So it's got a few million polygons to actually export. Just give it its time there. I think what I'll do, depending on how long it takes to export this, I'll pause it before I export the next few bits and pieces. Yeah, I think I'll be pausing it for the next bits. So this is what we want to do for every single piece. So for the earring, that's not massively important, so we will export it, but we probably won't actually remesh it. We'll just probably use a ring or something and just kind of whack on a quick texture afterwards. It's not going to have anything useful to transfer texture wise. So there we go, come on. Thank you. Alrighty, so these are the high-res parts. We'll export the earring. So that's going to be earring underscore HR and export and save. So that didn't take long, that's fine. We'll do the eyes outer. In fact, that wasn't actually a high resolution because I didn't go up the subdivision levels. So I'm just going to go back to the earring, export it again. There we go. Do the eyes, and we'll subdivide these up to their highest res. We'll export, and we'll just do eyes underscore HR. Save on there. Does look like it has some form of UV map, but doesn't matter because we're not going to be using it. We'll then do the beard, take that up to its highest subdivision levels. And I'll pause the video before I do this one. So going to export, we've got the beard underscore HR, and it's going to pause before I hit save. There we go. So then we've got his beard braids. It's not massively important again, but we might as well export what we've got. And the gloves. He's got quite a few polys to them, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's taken a while to subdivide, so must be pretty high in the poly count. So yeah, 5 million. So we're going to export. We'll do gloves underscore HR. So when we renamed all these bits and pieces earlier as well, it helps us, instead of having to type out new file names all the time, just add the HR onto the end. Just going to pause the video while I export this. Okay, that took some time. So let's just head down to the next bit. We've got the rivets. They should already be at the highest subdivision level. wrist straps. Again, doesn't really have that much resolution to it, so I need to pause this one. And the charms on the gloves, again they're a little bit out of view, but I know they're there. Make sure the highest subdivision level, export, and we'll do HR at the end, export those. Oh, going to take a little bit longer than I thought. Bit too late to pause now. If you take focus away from ZBrush while it's doing something like this, then chances of a crash are pretty high. So you're just going to have to sit and watch this progress bar with me, unfortunately. Okay, so that's done. I edited out that loading as it really did take its time. So I'm going to have to do the same with the apron because we've got a lot of polys in this as well. So take it up to the highest subdivision level. Go to export. We'll do apron. Let's just remove the 1 because it's nonsensical. Just put a HR at the end. And just going to pause the video and press save. Okay, that one's done. So we've got the little apron clasp kind of thing. This shouldn't take long at all. Let's just export that. There we go. Got the pouch at the front. So that shouldn't take too long either. I'm just going to put a put apron as a prefix to this, so I can kind of tell where everything is, and save. And we'll go on to the rivets on the front and subdivide them. Export. Just going to prefix apron so I know which parts are which. There we go, save those. We've got the pliers. Subdivide those and export. Let's go to the 2 at the end. And save. Same with the hammer. Now when we go through and actually do the low res of these, we may actually make use of the low res versions of the tools just because it can be easier in some circumstances. So just to save us having to recreate geometry which is already there, we can edit what we've already got. So I'm going to do pliers underscore 2 underscore HR. Oh, sorry. That's going to take a little bit of time. No, maybe not. That'll be okay. And the trousers, turn up the resolution of these. One more perhaps. There we go. 6 million polys. Definitely going to have to pause this one. Again, export trousers underscore HR. And going to pause it and press save. There we go, so trousers done. Let's move on to the belts. Subdivide that as many times as we need to. And just going to export. HR, there we go. And I probably should have paused this one as well. Oh no, it's not going to take too long. Let's see, we haven't got too many parts left, so we're getting there. We've got the belt buckle. So there we go, that's a full res now, I think. Yep, that's fine. So let's get that exported too. And this one, we didn't rename it, so let's just call it belt underscore buckle underscore HR. Save that. There we go. We've got the these are the boot trimmings, so just going to subdivide those up. And export, we'll do boot underscore trim underscore HR. Save. Finally onto the boots. Let's just subdivide those up again. So just going up the subdivision levels. That's D on the keyboard, by the way, if you want a bit of a shortcut. Export, call those boots underscore HR. Didn't take half as long as I thought it would. Fantastic. Alrighty, we've got the bootstraps. Export, boot underscore straps underscore HR, and save. We've got the boot rings. Export, boot underscore rings underscore HR. And next of all, we've got the other bootstraps. Bootstraps 2 underscore HR. We've got the big hammer. Let's just focus on that. That's brilliant. So just export big hammer underscore HR and save. Probably should have paused the video again. That's just fine. Just take a few seconds. That's great. And that's it. So that's all the high resolution stuff exported. So now what we're going to do is just get the medium resolution out. And for the most part, we can just go down the subdivision levels on a lot of the geometric shapes, as we won't really need to worry about a lot of the forms, as this is very geometric anyway. So 192,000, 48,000, that'll do absolutely fine. So let's just work our way back up. So this time we'll go into exports, go into our medium res, and we'll go MR at the end this time. Just jump up, and the bootstraps aren't going to be massively important as they're not very high res anyway. I don't think they've even got any subdivision levels, so we might as well just export them as they are. So these bootstraps have only 48,000, that's fine. Got the boot rings. They've only got 32,000, so we'll export them as they are as well. Let's put MR at the end. Same with these bootstraps, I don't think there are any subdivision levels, so just export underscore MR, save. And the boots, let's just see what we get when we go down the subdivision levels. See, as long as it's still representative of the silhouette of the pieces, then that's all we're really going to need. So 37,000 be fine for that. Let's just export medium resolution for the boots and work our way up. This should be a lot faster. Just take the resolution down on these, and these are the boot trim underscore MR, save. Go to the belt buckle, take the res down on this. That's right, that's representative, so do belt underscore buckle MR. So a bit slow at typing, I've got to lean over to the keyboard, so, and do it with one hand. So let's see how far down we can go with the belt before we start losing what it is. That'll do absolutely fine. So I'll export the belt underscore MR. And ZBrush would choose to save right now. Come on, thank you. Alrighty, so the trousers. We'll take that down a subdivision level. Maybe 2. As it's not going to affect sort of the larger wrinkles and things. So what have we got? We've got 378,000, so still a little bit on the high side, but we still keep all the shape even a bit further down the subdivision level. 94,000, that's fine, so we'll export. So trousers underscore MR. And the pliers. That'll do fine. So these are pliers 2 underscore MR. That'll do absolutely fine as it is. So hammer underscore MR. It's rather tedious, but keeping things organised, really quite a good idea. That'll be fine. Pliers underscore MR. We're getting there, so not much further to go. Let's say the rivets are going to be fine as they are as well. So let's just do an MR on those. Just realised I need to rename that, so let's just head to our folder with the exports. And we had pouch rivets. We actually just want to put apron as a prefix because I forgot to do that. So just going to rename it. We've got the pouch, which we're just going to take down a few subdivision levels. One more. Still got the right form and the volume, so it's again prefix apron and suffix MR. The clasp, I'll just drop it down one. That's even low res, so just one more up. And we'll do apron underscore clasp underscore MR. Save. Got the apron. Now this has a few intricacies that we would want to keep. So let's just go down the subdivision level and see if we manage to keep the volume of all the wrinkles and things. See what we've got there. 228,000 shouldn't be a problem for Maya. But yeah. So just on the apron, I'm just going to show you another technique to reduce the poly count. So I'm just going to put the subdivision level up to the top. Then I'm going to duplicate it and hide the original. Just going to make that visible. Then I'm going to go into Z plugin and we're going to use Decimation Master. So Decimation Master will basically convert all of our quadded faces into triangles, and it will try and keep as much detail as possible but also remove as much resolution as possible as well, so it'll be a bit more efficient. So what we're going to do here is we're going to press the pre-process current button, as that will then process the selected subtool. This can take some time, not too bad. So what this will do is just process the mesh. It'll keep a copy of it, behind the scenes, and it'll enable us to preview a few different types of decimation on there as well. So once this is done, this is the longest part of it. There we go. So just reordering everything now. There we go. So once that's pre-processed, we'll be able to use this. So down here it's a percentage of how of the percentage of the original that we'd like the decimation to be. So at the moment we'd like to take it down to 20% of its current level, or we can specify how many points we'd like, how many polys or how many points. So ideally I'd like this sort of below 100,000 polys, so I'm just going to type in 95, and then I'm just going to press decimate current, and you see actually we've kept a lot of the detail. But if we click on the polyframe, you can see that it's just made up of a load of triangles now, and they're optimally placed to keep as much shape as possible and as much detail as possible, but at a much lower poly count. So if we head back to our tools menu and have a look at the subtool, we've got 94,998 polys, which is only 2 polys off what I actually wanted. So we'll just export that. Just remove the 1 at the end and actually type MR instead of HR and export that. So it's going to make things a lot easier. So we've got the glove charms. Let's just focus on these. We'll turn off the apron. Let's just have a quick check at one of them. And we'll just lower the subdivision levels. So we've got something which still holds the shape, but not all the detail. Because we're going to be using the medium resolution to start building our low res mesh around it. So we've got the wrist straps. If we take those down, that'll be fine like it is. 5,000 polys, closer to 6, but that'll be fine. So MR, save. We've got the glove rivets. Can take those down a level. We've got the actual gloves themselves. So let's go ahead and use Decimation Master on this. So Z plugin, we're going to, well actually let's just duplicate the subtool first just in case we break it. So duplicate, turn off the original and just make this one visible. Then go to Decimation Master and we're going to pre-process currents. I'm just going to pause it this time just to save you time. Okay, so that's pre-processed for us. And we're going to take that down to 95,000 polys as well. So let's type in 95 and decimate current. And that really didn't work. Why didn't that work? really did not work. Just undo that. Let's just use a percentage base. So I think we're probably going to have this a little bit higher than what we'd like. So at the moment we have 5 million polys, so anything lower than that's going to be kind of what we want. Let's take that down to possibly 160,000 polys. Let's just press decimate current. There we go. And we can take this down a little bit further. See if we can get just a little bit below. So let's try 150,000. Decimate current. There we go. And we can keep stepping down like this. So let's try 100,000 polys. Decimate current. There we go. You can see we've got a lot of the detail, but nowhere near as many triangles. Not quite sure what's going on here, but oh well, it's fine. So let's just go ahead and export those. So we've got gloves underscore MR. Save that. We've got the beard braids, which again are not massively important. Let's just turn off the gloves, the spare gloves. So these aren't high res anyway. To be honest, we probably won't use them for much. So let's just export them. We're going down 1 subdivision level. Beard, let's have a look. So it's still got a lot of form to it, and that's 32,000, so that's fine. Let's export the beard underscore MR, save. The eyes, let's see what we've got here, 1.4 million, so let's just take that down a couple of steps. So that's 90,000, that's good. So this will allow us to get our eyes in a good position. Eyes medium res, and save. Got the earring. Again, there's barely any resolution to it anyway, so we might as well just export it as it is. So MR and save. And then finally we're back to the top where we have our main dude. So we could drop down a couple of subdivision levels, so see where we've got the main forms. So we're at 93,000 there. And if we have a look, we've still got sort of the outcrops around by the eyebrows and things. The ears are in good resolution, and we've got all the bits sticking out where we need them to be. So we'll take this out as it is, and we'll do upper body underscore MR and press save, and there we go. So that's all the medium res stuff done. And that's all we needed to do to get everything ready for retopology. So let's just take a look. We've got everything we need in here. We've got a lot of bits and pieces, a lot of MTL files. We don't actually need the MTL files, so we might as well just keep it clean and get rid of them. And we can do the same in the high res as well, as it will abate the polypaint data into the OBJ files. But I think I might just leave them in as we are, because we're not going to mess with the high-res stuff. We're just going to be using that for baking out the textures and things. So, bit of a checklist of what you'll need for the next chapter, guys. You're going to need Maya, or if you prefer to do your retopology in Max. I don't like retopologizing in Max because it's clunky, and to be honest, I hate it. So, I'd recommend Maya, because that's what I'm going to be using to retopologize it. Alternatively, if you have something like TopoGun, that's another good tool that we can use for it as well. And outside of that, if you have any other tools, if you prefer doing retopology in Blender, then you can do that. But obviously you'll need to know exactly what you're doing to do it in those programs, as I'm going to be doing it in Maya, and I just don't have the time or the ability to cover it in every single program. So grab yourselves Maya if you haven't already got it. Then we'll be going on to doing UV mapping, and eventually we'll be going on to doing sorry guys, we'll be going on to doing the texture baking. So for the UV mapping, we'll see what we'll end up using. I might well just do it in Maya, though I do have a few other tools and things which I might use to do it. Depends on how we're feeling. And from there you'll also need to get XNormal. XNormal is a texture baking software which you can download for free. So that's free software, so you might as well grab that. Just Google XNormal and you'll be able to find it for download. So those are the tools we're going to be needing in the next few chapters, as well as Photoshop. And then we'll move on to the rest of it. So come join me in the next chapter, guys, and we'll get on to the tedious world of retopology. So yeah, any questions or comments, drop them in the comments box and I'll help as much as I can. Join me in the next chapter, guys, and in the meantime, happy sculpting and you take care.